I thought I was helping plan their wedding until my daughter-in-law dropped the truth. It was a sunny Thursday morning, and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled my kitchen, mingling with the sweet scent of cinnamon rolls baking in the oven. I couldn't help but smile as I imagined the excitement of my son, Alex, and his fiancée, Emma, as they prepared for their big day. For months, I had been engulfed in the planning, helping select colors, narrowing down venues, and crafting the perfect guest list. It felt as though my daughter-in-law had allowed me into a cherished inner circle, one where I could help shape their lives. I was thrilled to be part of this process, thinking that my input would not only ease their burden, but also strengthen our bond. But that morning, as I set the table for breakfast, a nagging feeling crept into my mind, a fleeting worry that perhaps my role was less significant than I thought. Where are you watching from? I wondered if other mothers felt this way while helping their children plan weddings. Just then, the doorbell rang, shattering my thoughts. When I opened the door, I was greeted by Emma, radiating her usual cheerful energy. Her long brown hair flowed down her back, and her eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. "Good morning, Mrs. Richter. I brought coffee," she exclaimed, holding a thermos in one hand and a large scrapbook in the other. I ushered her into the kitchen, and we settled at the table with breakfast, chatting excitedly about floral arrangements and potential venues. Everything was going smoothly until the conversation shifted to the guest list, a complicated issue that we had been strategizing over for weeks. Alex had a large extended family, and Emma's side wasn't exactly small either. The more names we discussed, the more pressure mounted on me to get it right. "I just want it to be perfect," Emma confessed, her gaze falling on the scrapbook as if searching for answers within its pages. "I know, dear. We'll get through this," I reassured her, knowing all too well the emotional stakes involved. As we flipped through ideas and inspirations, Emma glanced up at me, her voice turning solemn. "You know, my parents aren't really involved in the planning," she said hesitantly. "Well, that's understandable. They might be busy or perhaps feeling a bit overwhelmed," I suggested, trying to keep the mood light. But Emma shook her head. "It's not that. It's just complicated." The air between us shifted, the weight of unspoken words hanging like a heavy curtain. "What do you mean, complicated?" I asked, more curious than before. "They have their own problems, things that happened in the past," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Suddenly, the small talk felt inadequate. I sensed that she was holding something back, a truth that loomed over us like a dark cloud, and my instinct kicked in. "You can tell me anything, you know that," I said softly, placing my hand over hers. Emma sighed, her shoulders slumping a little, almost as if the burden of her family's issues was taking its toll on her. "It's just, when I was younger, there was a lot of conflict in my family. They divorced when I was just a kid, and ever since, things have been strained, to say the least." My heart sank as I listened to her story. I could only imagine how that must have impacted her view of marriage and family. Having grown up watching my own parents navigate tumultuous times, I felt a flicker of understanding. "Emma, that's a lot to carry," I said gently. "But you're building a new family now. You and Alex can create something beautiful, something different." "That's what I keep telling myself," she replied, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "I just want this day to be special, to show everyone how happy we are." I nodded, realizing that beneath her bubbly exterior lay a vulnerability I had never seen before. For the first time, it became clear that planning this wedding was not just a task for her. it was a personal mission of healing and hope. We resumed discussing details, but the air remained heavy with the gravity of her revelation. I wanted to reassure her, to let her know she was not alone. As we moved on to the cake flavors, I caught a glimpse of myself in the reflection of the window. I looked older than I felt, my years etched into the frame of my face, lines drawn from laughter and worry alike. I turned the conversation back toward the wedding, focusing on the flavors of cake we should try, the colors of the flowers we might use, intentionally steering away from her family troubles. The rest of the morning passed in a blur of planning, endless ideas flowing between us as we designed what would hopefully become the happiest day of their lives. But that moment stayed with me, nestled at the back of my mind like a stone, heavier than I expected. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss, that the truth I sensed would rise to the surface, and I would soon be forced to confront it fully. As I cleared the table and washed the dishes, I thought of everything we had planned and how deeply I wanted this wedding to work out, not just for Emma and Alex, but also for myself. Being part of such a significant moment felt like my attempt to reclaim a piece of my own lost family dreams. Yet, as I glanced out of the window at a world bustling with life, happiness, and bright possibilities, I couldn't ignore the uncertainty tangled within me. What lay ahead? And would I still feel included when their wedding day finally came? The answers to these questions lingered like shadows, and I had no idea just how tumultuous the upcoming days would prove to be. Emma returned to the living room, a satisfied smile plastered on her face. The earlier heaviness lifted, if only temporarily. But I knew better. Something was brewing beneath the surface, and soon enough, that truth would force its way into the light. And when it did, everything would change. The following week was a whirlwind of preparations as Emma and I dove deeper into the wedding planning. The excitement was palpable, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more behind Emma's words, the truth that had yet to surface, lurking just out of reach. Each evening, after our planning sessions, I returned home feeling exhilarated yet uneasy, as if at any moment the delicate balance we had created could crumble. The day of the venue visit arrived, a spot that had caught both our eyes with its sprawling gardens and elegant architecture. I could barely contain my excitement as we drove together, the morning sun shining bright on the horizon as if blessing our new endeavor. Emma was practically bouncing in her seat, her previous worries tucked away, at least for now, and I felt a renewed sense of purpose. This is it. I can already picture how beautiful everything will look, she exclaimed, her voice filled with longing and hope. We arrived, stepping into the lush scenery that would be transformed into their dream wedding venue. As we walked through the space, Emma's face lit up, a canvas of dreams brushing across her features. I took in the grandeur around us, imagining chairs lined up and adorned with delicate flowers, the sounds of laughter echoing through the air. This was a moment we both had been working towards, and for a brief flash, it felt almost perfect. But then, the architect who had been showing us around brought up the need for a firm guest list soon, couples typically needing at least a month for seating arrangements and food orders. Emma's expression faltered slightly, a flicker of anxiety crossing her face. As soon as the architect left us to deliberate on our decisions, I decided to probe. Emma, are there certain people from your side of the family you'd like to have here? I know you mentioned complications. Her expression morphed, anxiety creeping back into her features like a thief in the night. I do want to invite them, but I'm not sure how they will react, she admitted, her tone filled with hesitance. It's just that my parents weren't the best role models for love and commitment. Maybe this is a great opportunity to show them that you've created something different, I replied gently, feeling a mixture of sympathy and concern for this brave young woman. Emma's gaze dropped, her fingers fidgeting with the bracelet on her wrist. You don't understand. They've never been supportive of who I am or the life I want. There it was again, the shadow that cloaked her completely. Emma, you deserve support on your big day, I stated, my voice firm. You shouldn't have to walk this road alone. She looked up and met my gaze, and for a moment, I saw her vulnerable heart laid bare. But what if they don't come? What if they judge me for wanting this life? Each word was heavy, dripping with the past, an invisible weight that had been placed on her shoulders long before I entered the picture. Then you'll have to show them your strength, I insisted, wanting so desperately for her to realize that she was more than her family's history. But as our conversation twisted into deeper territories, I couldn't help but wonder if I was ill-equipped to help her navigate this troubled terrain. After the visit to the venue, we headed back to my house, still buzzing from the possibilities ahead. Emma's enthusiasm returned, but the weight on her heart lingered. While we sat at the kitchen table, poring over catering options, I decided to offer a suggestion that I hoped might alleviate the tension. Why don't we have a small dinner at my place with your parents? You could break the ice before the wedding day? Emma's face paled. You mean, invite them here? Like a family dinner? The idea seemed to unearth something deep-seated inside her. It might ease tensions, I said, carefully. You can talk openly, and it'll show them you want them involved. Her eyes glistened with tears as she weighed the thought. Maybe, but I'm not sure they would respond well. What if you could find a way to make them understand? This day is about you and Alex, and it's your moment to shine. You can show them how different your life is now. Reluctantly, she nodded, but the uncertainty on her face made my heart ache for her. Later that evening, as I rummaged through my old cookbooks to prepare for our potential family dinner, a wave of nostalgia hit me. I recalled the family gatherings we used to have, where laughter echoed throughout the house and love flourished like wildflowers. But with each flick of a page, I felt a mix of hope and apprehension around Emma's family, knowing her parents might not represent that upbeat love I cherished. I tried to push the thought aside, confident that Emma's strength would carry her through whatever challenges awaited. As I prepared my dishes, hearty lasagna, garlic bread, and a fresh salad, I envisioned their faces, the awkward introductions, the fleeting silence that often accompanies uncomfortable situations. But I held on to the belief that eventually, love could bridge any divide. When the day of the dinner arrived, the atmosphere crackled with a level of tension I hadn't expected. Emma walked in, dressed simply yet elegantly, but her face was stormy, swirling with emotions I didn't fully grasp. I reached out to comfort her, offering her a warm cup of tea, trying to anchor her amid the brewing storm. We paced together in my kitchen as the clock ticked down, the chaos around us silent as we waited for her parents to arrive. I can't do this, Emma suddenly blurted out, fear echoing in her voice as I grasped her hand. What if they don't accept Alex? What if they ruin everything? I didn't know how to ease the worries in her heart, but I encouraged her to breathe deeply, to focus on the love that surrounded her. You and Alex have a life ahead of you full of joy, and this is just one step towards that future, I reminded her with sincerity. As the doorbell finally chimed, I could feel Emma tense, her heartbeat quickening as we exchanged a nervous glance. With hesitant steps, we opened the door. The moment I opened the door, a rush of emotions flooded through me, an uneasy mixture of anticipation and dread. There they stood, Emma's parents, Sarah and David, looking as stern as I had imagined. Sarah's tight-lipped smile barely masked her disapproval, while David shifted awkwardly on his feet, glancing at the ground, avoiding eye contact. "Hello, Mrs. Richter," Sarah said coolly, her hands pressed together as if she were preparing for a detachment that made my heart sink. "Thank you for inviting us." I forced a smile, stepping aside to let them in. "Welcome. Please come in," I responded, hoping my warmth would help offset the chill in the air. Emma stood behind me, her fingers tracing the edge of the kitchen table, a gesture revealing her anxiety. "This is a lovely home," Sarah remarked, glancing around with an air of critical appraisal. David nodded, though his eyes remained directed down, as if he were mentally mapping an escape route. We settled around the dining table, and I noticed Emma clenched her fists beneath the table, as if summoning the courage to address her parents. Before the meal could begin, I opted for small talk to ease the tension. "How's work been for you, David?" I asked, determined to initiate some friendly conversation. "Busy as usual," he murmured, his voice low and distant, leaving me with the impression that professional life was his only escape from the complexities of family dynamics. I turned to Sarah, who was observing Emma with a critical eye. "And you, Sarah? How's your garden doing?" "It's fine," she replied tersely, clearly uninterested in the discussion as she glanced dismissively at the food before us. A heaviness blanketed the table, but I soldiered on, dishing out the lasagna, garlic bread, and salad. As we started to eat, I wished for some magic to spark meaningful conversation amidst the awkwardness. I made a calculated decision to steer the conversation toward the wedding, the main reason they were here. "So, have you thought much about the wedding details?" I ventured carefully. Emma stiffened momentarily, and I could feel the tension rise. "We're planning something small but beautiful," she began, speaking slowly as if each word was a small step onto a precarious path. "I just want everyone to feel included, especially family." Sarah raised an eyebrow, her skepticism evident. "Are you sure you can afford all of this?" "Weddings can end up being quite expensive. We're being very mindful of our budget," Emma replied, her voice steady but rising with defiance. "It's not about the money, it's about love and support." The air thickened as Sarah's expression hardened. "Love and support? Do you honestly think that's the reality of relationships? It's not all fairy tales." Emma's face fell, and I caught a glimpse of the hurt she harbored. I could sense this was not just about the wedding. It was about an entire lifetime of disappointment and expectation simmering just beneath the surface. "Mom, it's not about fairy tales. It's about what we make of it," Emma declared, her voice shaking but resolute. David shifted uncomfortably, clearly wishing he could recede into the background. He started, but Sarah cut him off, her sharp tone slicing through the air. "She needs to understand the reality before she's left disappointed again." "Disappointed in what way?" Emma shot back, her anger igniting. "You expect me to fail?" The words hung heavily, silencing everyone in the room. Thoughts of their family history must have raced back into her mind. I cringed inwardly, witnessing how quickly old wounds could rupture. This moment could either fracture their relationship more, or perhaps open a path to healing. "No one wants you to fail, Emma," I said, interjecting as gently as possible. But sometimes families have a difficult time understanding choices different from their own. Sarah's eyes glinted with annoyance. You think your choices are good enough just because you've chosen them? I want to see you make choices that reflect reality, not ideals. Emma's entire demeanor shifted, a mix of rage and deep-seated hurt coursing through her. And what do you know about reality, Mom? You and Dad spent so many years arguing and avoiding each other that I've had to fight for my voice. I felt the dinner spiraling into chaos. This wasn't how I envisioned it, yet the rawness of their emotions started to spill out, raw truths that had long been buried. Emma, maybe this isn't the moment to bring up the past. David finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. It's always the moment, Emma shot back, tears welling in her eyes. My heart raced. I suddenly felt so helpless, caught between two sides. It was clear that the cycle of misunderstanding had trapped them all. I needed to intervene. Everyone is entitled to their feelings, I said carefully, hoping to provide a semblance of peace. But right now, your family and family should strive to understand one another. At that moment, I wanted desperately for Emma to feel protected, but I also needed her parents to realize that their past didn't have to dictate her future. Emma, sweetheart, it's about wanting what's best for you, Sarah replied, her voice barely controlled. We just want you to be happy. But happy in whose definition? Yours? Emma countered, her voice gaining strength. I want a different life than the one you had, and I will fight for it. For a brief moment, we were all silent, the weight of what Emma had said hanging in the air. I just want to be loved, she whispered finally, her voice cracking. The honesty pierced me to my core, the desire for acceptance that resonated deeply within us all. We all want that, I finally said, feeling tears prick at my own eyes. Emma, and I want you to know that you are loved here, now. You are not alone. Sarah paused, her expression softening slightly. It's just hard for us, she admitted quietly. We sometimes struggle to express what we feel. Wistfulness filled the room, the tension easing ever so slightly. It felt like a glimmer of hope. Maybe we could reach a better understanding after all. Emma looked up, searching for reassurance in my eyes. I offered a gentle smile, silently urging her to press on. I'm just asking for a chance to show you that I can have this life with Alex, a life of our own. David shifted, at last breaking his silence. Maybe we haven't been fair to you, Emma. Perhaps there are things we could work on together. The unspoken bond of family hung in the air, flickers of understanding igniting slowly. We don't have to do this perfectly, I added, hoping to unify us all. It takes time and patience. Emma wiped her eyes and nodded. Thank you. I just want to show you this day means more than just an event. And for the first time in that room, I felt like the boundaries that had held them apart were beginning to dissolve. We finished dinner with softer conversation, sharing stories about the wedding and the little details we dreamed of through laughter. I could see the barriers lowering, the warmth of family starting to rekindle between Emma and her parents. It felt like we had taken the first step toward healing old wounds, an act of bravery threaded through vulnerability. By the time dessert arrived, we were sharing playful banter and reminiscing. The atmosphere shifted from one of trepidation to fragile hope. Emma's parents listened more carefully, and Emma shared her vision for their wedding more openly, her confidence blossoming as they began to engage with her dreams. I marveled at the scene unfolding around the table. thankful that perhaps this dinner had been a step in the right direction. As dishes were cleared away, and we savored the last of the dessert, I realized that this messy, imperfect evening had somehow brought us closer together. The truth that had clouded Emma's heart was finally beginning to lift, revealing glimmers of the love and possibility that lay ahead. But little did I know, this dinner would be just the beginning of the storm to come. Emma hadn't yet revealed the truth that would shake the very foundations of our plans. The truth that would change everything we had begun to build. The days following the dinner felt infused with a renewed sense of hope. Emma's parents seemed more engaged, attending to her with a level of warmth I hadn't expected. I felt a tremor of optimism as I watched the three of them navigate the delicate dance of rebuilding their relationship. However, deep within me, a persistent nagging worry remained. Emma had shared only fragments of her truth, and the deeper revelations still lingered like shadows in the corner of my mind. One afternoon, as Emma and I returned to my kitchen to plan their next steps, I sensed she was holding on to something yet again. I'd been basking in the afterglow of our dinner, thinking perhaps we'd overcome the hurdles, even if just for a moment. I tried to shake the impending sense of doom as we sat down at the table. A colorful array of wedding magazines sprawled out before us. "What's next, then? It looks like we need to finalize the guest list," I suggested, hoping to infuse some excitement into our afternoon. Emma flipped open a magazine but quickly glanced up, a flicker of uncertainty crossing her face. "Yeah, about that," she began, biting her lip, and I instantly sensed the shift in the air. My heart dropped. This was the telltale sign that something was brewing beneath the surface. Where was the ebullient woman who had been so ready to take on the world? "What is it, Emma?" I prompted softly, my voice steady as I tried to coax the truth from her. She hesitated, her eyes darting to the glossy pages in front of her. I don't know if everything will be as perfect as we envisioned," she confessed, her voice quaking with vulnerability. "What do you mean?" I asked, feeling a growing sense of concern. "Open up, please. I can help." She sighed deeply, squeezing her eyes shut as if to hide from whatever was nagging her soul. "It's just, Alex is worried about his family too, you know? His parents they haven't been supportive either." A chill ran down my spine as I processed her words. "What do you mean? Has something happened between them?" I needed to grasp the full picture now. "Not directly. It's more like they've always had this expectation of him, like he's supposed to settle down quietly and live this conventional life." I could see the conflict brewing in her eyes, the mix of love and worry tugging at her emotional stability. "But you two are not conventional. You're building something unique." Emma nodded, a bittersweet smile crossing her lips. "I know that, but I feel the weight of their expectations. I don't want to hurt him by asking to invite anyone who will bring negativity. Emma, you can't control how they react, but you can control who you want at your wedding," I stated firmly, hoping to guide her through this maze of anxiety. "You deserve a day surrounded by love and support." She took a deep breath, contemplating my words, and for the first time, I saw determination seep into her expression. "You're right. I don't want to create drama. I want it to be beautiful." A sense of empowerment washed over her as we refocused on discussing the guest list. But in her eyes, I sensed that the lingering truth was still hovering just beyond reach. I decided to probe a bit deeper. "What would happen if you did invite your parents regardless of their past? Isn't it better to reach out than to isolate?" Emma's brow furrowed, and I could see her weighing the emotional consequences. Maybe inviting them might help, she murmured hesitantly, her voice trailing off. But Alex hasn't even met them, and what if things go wrong? With each word, I recognized the web of complications surrounding their lives. Navigating these waters felt like crossing a tightrope. One misstep, and everything might come crashing down. You have to trust that your love for each other is stronger than the drama. As we continued sifting through names, Emma's confidence slowly flickered back. We wrote down potential guests, and I wanted to believe this new sense of unity would help hold them together. Days turned into weeks as we dove into the whirlwind preparations. The tension before had shifted toward collaboration and finalizing components of the wedding. The flowers, the cake flavors, and yes, the guest list felt immensely rewarding. But I still kept glancing at Emma, sensing that something deeper was still hidden beneath her bright smile. One evening, as I rummaged through old decorations in the attic, I came upon an album filled with photographs from my own wedding. The sheer joy radiating from those images washed over me, memories of my younger self, bursting with hope and love. Suddenly, a pang of nostalgia hit me, making me wonder if Emma would ever feel that kind of magic during her own wedding. When Emma came over later that evening, I seized the opportunity to show her the album. "Look at these!" I exclaimed, opening it to a page filled with images of happy faces, laughing guests, and a beaming bride. Emma's face lit up as she turned the pages, enchanted by the memories frozen in time. "Wow, you looked so gorgeous, and your dress! Wow!" she exclaimed, her eyes wide with admiration. "Thank you." That day was magical in its own way. It was filled with laughter, love, and a sense of new beginnings. I felt a swell of affection for Emma in that moment, grateful to see her absorbing the joy of those memories. But then I noticed a change in her expression, how the joy flickered slightly as she contemplated her own impending day. "I just hope mine feels like that," she whispered, a hint of uncertainty creeping into her voice. "It will, I promise. And you just have to focus on what matters most, your love for Alex." But even as I said those words, I couldn't shake the feeling that the past loomed over her like a specter, ready to pounce on any moment of vulnerability. "Emma," I began cautiously, "if there's something you need to share, like any deep-seated fears or family issues, now's the time to let it all out. You need to enter this without any weight on your heart." She hesitated, her eyes dropping to the album. "I just don't want to drag him into my family problems. I mean, what if they reject us? What if it all falls apart?" "It won't. Look what you've accomplished together. Just focus on that." But I could see the doubt still clouding her heart, a tight knot forming in her stomach. The more I pressed, the more I sensed another truth lurking just beneath the surface, waiting for the perfect moment to erupt. And with every passing day, I became increasingly aware that we were standing on the brink of something much greater than wedding planning. Something that would change everything for Emma, Alex, and me forever. Weeks flew by in a flurry of preparations, and the wedding day was fast approaching. Emma's determination solidified as she grew more confident in her choices, yet the undercurrent of hesitation still lingered. I often caught her staring off into space, as if her mind was racing to reconcile the contradictions of her past with the promise of her future. One afternoon, as we sorted through final details, confirming flower arrangements and seating charts, a sudden impulse urged me to dig deeper. "Emma," I said slowly, "is there anything you still feel uncomfortable sharing? You can talk to me." She looked up, her expression a mix of reflection and sadness. It's just, sometimes I feel like I'm hiding a part of myself from Alex. The candidness we had developed felt like a gateway opening to deeper truths. What do you mean exactly? I pressed gently, knowing I needed to tread lightly. I love him, but I can't shake the feeling that I need to protect him from my family's past. Everything that comes with it, she explained, her voice trembling slightly. I could see the conflict in her eyes. She wanted to share, but fear held her back. Emma, love means showing all sides, both the bright and the difficult. If you keep this hidden, it might weigh more heavily on you later. She nodded, biting her lip, as if choosing the right words was a matter of utmost importance. I just don't want to ruin what we have, she finally confessed. What if he looks at me differently after he learns everything? Then that's on him, not you, I replied with conviction. True love looks beyond the complications. A moment of silence hung heavily between us. I could sense her wrestling with thoughts and fears that were tightly coiled, clawing for attention. What if I told him that my family hasn't always been there for me? That my relationship with them often feels strained and complicated? I leaned closer, feeling the weight of her words resonate. That's a start, Emma. But I think it's deeper than that for you. What else? She took a deep breath, her fingers nervously brushing over the invitation designs laid out on the table. I don't feel like I belong sometimes. I feel like I have to prove myself to everyone, including you and Alex. My heart ached as I reached for her hand. You don't need to prove anything to anyone, but the truth could help you break free from that burden. Look at how far you've come. Her shoulders relaxed slightly. For the first time, I believed she was truly listening. If I can show Alex the truth, this part of my life, it could help him understand me in a way I've never been able to express. The determination blossomed in her eyes as she glanced around, determined to confront the layers slowly being peeled back. But I'm still afraid, she admitted, her voice cracking. What if they react poorly? I don't want my past to overshadow our future. It was a valid concern. Moments echoed in my mind, reminding me that the past has a way of creeping back in. Sometimes love means embracing the risk, I urged. If they care about you, they'll want to understand. Emma nodded again, this time a fire igniting within her gaze. You're right. I can do this. The conversation fueled an energy that floated in the air amidst our plans for the wedding. I saw her confidence rising, the woman I had grown to admire glowing stronger. Determined to support her, I decided it was time to reach out to Alex, almost inconspicuously, to ensure he could provide the love and support Emma so desperately needed. That next week, I invited him over under the guise of discussing wedding logistics. When he arrived, beaming with enthusiasm, I could see why Emma had fallen in love with him. His easy smile illuminated an energy that felt reassuring. As we settled into my living room, I hesitated just a moment before diving into the more profound dialogue I had in mind. Alex, have you had a chance to talk with Emma about all those family dynamics? I asked, watching his expression carefully. What do you mean? The wedding stuff? We've touched on it, he replied, a hint of confusion clouding his eyes. I mean, her past and how it impacts her now. I think she's been hesitant to share everything, and I want to ensure you're ready for that. Alex's brow furrowed, and he nodded slowly, seeming to piece together my intention. You think I should know more? Absolutely. Understanding her family tensions will help you both moving forward. I explained, hopeful that he'd find value in transparency. I've seen how much Emma wants this day to be special, and it will require a united front. Alex's posture straightened, a newfound intensity in his gaze. You're right. I want to be there for her, whatever that looks like. We're building a life together. I felt a swell of pride as he spoke, yet the gravity of Emma's truths weighed heavily on my heart. Good. She needs your unwavering support, especially as she prepares to unveil everything. The more we talked, the more I realized that Alex possessed a deep sense of empathy, a trait that would serve their relationship well. As the plans continued, I watched as the pieces began falling into place. The flowers, the decor, the music, and most importantly, the emerging understanding between the soon-to-be newlyweds. But despite the joyous build-up, a tight knot formed in my stomach, as each day leading to the wedding felt heavier with anticipation. I feared that any moment could yield a revelation that would disrupt the fragile peace. Soon, the evening of the rehearsal dinner arrived. It felt surreal standing among friends and family, laughing and reminiscing over food, yet the air crackled with an undercurrent of unspoken truths. I watched as Emma greeted her parents, the smile on her face bright yet fragile, knowing the moment of honesty loomed closer. Moments ticked by, the unsaid words hanging in the air, until I caught Emma's eye from across the room as she nodded. Time had come for her to step into the light. It was more than a rehearsal. It was a dress rehearsal of truths unfolding. As the laughter faded and the evening grew solemn, I called for attention, my voice resonating softly within the gathering. I just want to say how grateful I am for everyone being here. I started, looking at Emma's parents, my heart racing. This wedding is a celebration of love, and I think that each of us plays an important role in supporting the powerful unions formed by those we cherish. Alex squeezed Emma's hand tightly, giving her silent strength as her parents exchanged glances, an array of complex emotions flickering between them. Interest, concern, and a dash of hope. Just as I felt they would open their arms to her, I turned my gaze back to Emma. She stood tall, showing a resolve that bubbled up from deep within her. This was her moment. I want to talk about things that matter, she said, her voice wavering slightly but steadying as the room turned to focus on her. Things that have shaped me into who I am today. Emma's voice rang out with an intensity that silenced the room, and I felt an air of anticipation shift palpably among our guests. As she stood before everyone, her resolve seemed to crystallize, casting away the tentative uncertainty that had plagued her in the days leading up to this moment. I want to share something about my family, she began, a breath escaping her lips as her gaze swept the room. Her parents exchanged glances, both confused and anxious, as if bracing for a storm. When I was growing up, my family faced a lot of challenges, and I often felt like I was walking on eggshells. My parents went through a very public and painful divorce, and it left me feeling as though love was conditional, based on circumstances rather than genuine affection. I could see her trembling slightly, the rhythm of her heart echoing through her words, and I directed my focus toward Alex, watching as he took her hand tighter, grounded with a sense of fierce support. For a long time, I felt like I had to prove I was worthy of love, and that meant burying my past beneath layers of smiles and cheer. The room hung on her every word. I was proud of her, watching her courage unfurl like a flower in the sunlight. It's taken me a lot of time to understand that my background doesn't define me, but it does influence how I relate to people I care about. She continued, her voice growing steadier. Alex, I love you deeply and want to show you all sides of me, even when it's messy. She paused, allowing the weight of her revelation to settle. The energy in the room shifted as people took it all in. I watched as Sarah and David's expressions morphed from confusion to something resembling concern. Emma took a breath, her eyes glistening. Mom, Dad, I want to break that cycle. I want to invite you into my life, but I need you to know that your constant judgments have affected how I perceive love. Sarah looked taken aback, her mouth opening slightly as words failed her. David seemed to be lost in thought, perhaps considering the echoes of his own choices. I don't want to hide from who I am anymore, Emma declared as clarity flooded the room. I want my wedding to be a celebration of love, but it can only be that way if we can all move past our hurts. The silence that followed her words was profound, pregnant with tension and the possibility of healing. Her parents exchanged glances, the gravity of Emma's confession evident on their faces. After an eternity, Sarah ventured forth, her tone softer than before. Emma, we never meant to make you feel like you had to prove yourself. We just didn't know how to be the parents you needed. Emma's eyes widened slightly, surprise flitting across her features. I want us to move forward. I want us to be part of each other's lives. David's shoulders slumped, the walls he had constructed seemingly melting away. We've made mistakes too, he admitted, his voice cracking. It's just that after the divorce, we didn't know how to balance being parents and individuals. That doesn't excuse the pain it caused, Emma stated, a mixture of sadness and strength in her voice. But we can work through it together, by supporting each other. And in that moment, I realized we were standing at the crossroads of forgiveness and vulnerability. I drew a breath, feeling the gravity of transformation settling over us. What do you think? I asked, breaking the moment of silence that lingered like a thick fog. Is it possible for us to build something beautiful from all the complications? Alex squeezed Emma's hand again, his eyes brimming with loyalty, and my heart swelled with hope. Yes, Emma's parents both replied simultaneously, a shimmer of something hopeful crossing their expressions. We can learn. Emma looked at them, her face revealing a mixture of cautious optimism and lingering trepidation. I really hope so, she whispered, hoping for a journey that could forge new paths, healing the scars of the past. The room erupted in an outpour of emotion as people stepped forward to hug Emma. Words of encouragement filling the air. I could see that every moment of struggle, every stifled report of fear she had felt, was beginning to dissolve into something resembling love, a budding connection that had long been buried. After the initial emotions began to settle, the conversation shifted to lighter banter, the heaviness in the air easing as the excitement of their wedding returned. Okay, so who's ready to have fun and help choose those centerpieces? I interjected, lightening the mood. The laughter grew around the table, and I felt like perhaps we had taken several steps forward that evening. Days collapsed in a blur until a sense of elation buzzed through us all. This wedding would indeed radiate love. But as the date loomed closer, a subtle undercurrent of anxiety began to emerge within me. Emma's parents, while supportive, still bore the scars of their own struggles. Would they falter again under the pressures of family dynamics? Finally, we arrived at the day of the wedding rehearsal. The air around us crackled with excitement as the venue glimmered under the early morning sun, adorned with blooms of every color. A majestic tapestry capturing the essence of love. Emma arrived, wearing a radiant smile that made my heart swell. I had never seen her look so beautiful and truly happy. The joy echoed from the very center of her being. As we prepared to run through the ceremony steps, Emma's parents arrived, their presences a mixture of excitement and lingering apprehension. David stepped forward first, offering an encouraging nod to Emma, while Sarah clasped her hands tightly, catching Emma's eye. "You look lovely, sweetheart," Sarah said with a hint of an emotional quiver in her voice. "We're so proud of you." Emma beamed, but beneath her exterior, I sensed a whirlwind of emotions, anticipation, nerves, and the pressure to ensure her day was perfect. I took a deep breath, anchoring myself in the moment. "Let's begin," I announced, guiding everyone forward as we prepared to run through the proceedings. As we scattered into positions, I saw all the pieces falling into place. Guests arriving, flowers in bloom, laughter filling the air. Everything coalesced into one beautiful vision, a tribute to Emma and Alex's chosen love. The rehearsal passed in a blur of joyful chaos, countless giggles, numerous missteps, but always an underlying current of love tethering us together. This moment was just for them, their love story written into a cozy tapestry of family and friends. Yet, even as we celebrated, I knew the real test lay ahead. As we rounded the final preparations, the weight of uncertainty loomed larger than ever. Would Emma's parents truly hold fast against their past? Or would old wounds somehow resurface to shatter this beautiful moment? As I stood aside, watching Emma practice her vows, the light of love dancing in her eyes, I couldn't help but believe her courage would carry them through. Oil and water don't mix, but perhaps love and acceptance could merge to create something even more extraordinary. As the sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a golden glow over the rehearsal dinner, an air of excitement tinged with nervous anticipation thrummed throughout the venue. The atmosphere reverberated with laughter, clinking glasses, and heartfelt toasts from friends and family who had come to celebrate Emma and Alex's union. I watched, my heart swelling as I witnessed how far Emma had come. Her past struggles momentarily eclipsed by the love surrounding her. The tables were adorned with vibrant flowers and flickering candles, creating an inviting warmth that wrapped everyone in a shared sense of joy. But in the back of my mind, a persistent concern gnawed at me. How would Emma's parents navigate their own emotions through this celebratory evening? As we settled into the dinner, the clamor of voices spurred an infectious energy. Emma's parents mingled cautiously, navigating small talk with surprising ease. I caught sight of Sarah laughing with some relatives, sharing stories of what it had meant for her to watch Emma grow into the woman she was today. It felt heartening, but still, a part of me remained vigilant, watching for any sign of turbulence beneath the cheerful surface. Midway through dinner, the atmosphere shifted slightly. The anticipation for heartfelt speeches and toasts hung in the air, promising vulnerability and emotional weight. My heart raced as I understood what this moment could mean for Emma's family dynamics, and I steadied myself, preparing to brace for anything. The first toast was by one of Alex's closest friends, a tall man with an infectious grin who recounted memories of their childhood and how proud he was to stand witness to their love. It was a sweet reminder that love could bloom even in the most unexpected spaces. The clinking glasses and laughter grew. As the evening wore on, I felt a sense of unity blossoming among the guests, a collective embrace of what lay ahead. But then it came, a shift in the air that signaled Emma's parents were about to speak. David stood up first, his chair scraping lightly against the floor, drawing the attention of everyone at the table. "If I may," he began, his voice steady but quavering ever so slightly as he glanced at Emma. "I want to say a few words." The room quieted, and I could feel Emma's heart race as she gripped Alex's hand tighter. "Emma, ever since you were a little girl, I wanted the best for you. You've always been strong, even when things were difficult. I'm proud of who you've become, and I appreciate your kindness and courage." His voice broke, the sincerity washing over the room like a wave. "I want you to know that this day is not just about the wedding. It's about the love and strength you've shown throughout your life." Eyes glistened, smiles erupted, and claps filled the air as David finished. It was a touching moment, but I could see something brewing behind Sarah's steely demeanor, an emotion fighting to break free. She stood up next, her eyes scanning the room until they landed on Emma. "I don't have much to say," she started, her voice shaking slightly. "But seeing you today brings back memories of all the times I felt unworthy of the love I always wanted to give." The tension in the room thickened. I was so focused on my own disappointments that I lost sight of how to nurture you. I can see now that I've missed many opportunities to be the mother you needed. Emma's breath caught, an amalgamation of surprise and emotion sharp on her features. I felt the ripple of vulnerability unfurling, Sarah's wall crumbling under the weight of love and honesty. "I want to change that," Sarah continued, her voice stronger now. "I want to be part of your journey forward, not the ghost of your past." Silence enveloped us as Emma's parents shared that powerful moment of reckoning, their honesty collapsing the walls of distance forged by years of pain. Tears fell as Emma finally released her breath, her voice now breaking through the fog. "Thank you for saying that. It means more than you know." The moment, raw and beautiful, cast a spell over the room. It felt as if every guest was silently rooting for this family to heal together, their narratives reshaped by the possibility of acceptance. Just then, a gentle sense of clarity washed over me, a reminder that the way forward may not erase the past, but it could create opportunities for healing if both sides chose to embrace it. After the heartfelt exchange, laughter resumed, banter flowing just as easily as before, but now underlaid with an air of sincerity. I felt as though I was witnessing the beginning of an entirely new chapter, not only in Emma and Alex's lives, but in her parents' lives as well. As the night went on, Emma took the stage for her own toast, a sudden burst of confidence illuminating her face. "If you all don't mind, I'd like to say something too," she declared, her voice capturing everyone's attention once again. "I want to thank my parents for their willingness to be open tonight. It's hard to share our stories, but that's what love is for, isn't it? To hold one another through laughter and tears." The room erupted into applause, her heartfelt honesty amplifying the emotions that had blossomed within. I know my life hasn't been perfect. There were challenges, and there will continue to be. But I want to build a future filled with love, she continued, her gaze meeting Alex's with tenderness. Her words wrapped around me with warmth. I felt the currents of healing as she spoke. "I stand before you all ready to embrace the imperfections and celebrate the beautiful life we are going to build together. And I want nothing more than to share that joy with all of you." The cheers swelled, creating an enveloping joy that tangled around us all. It was a beautiful moment of collective intention, and no one in that room could deny we were part of something truly special that evening. But as we sat down, I couldn't help but glance at Sarah and David. Their faces, tinged with joy and vulnerability, told me they were ready to embrace their daughter's life wholeheartedly, a milestone that had eluded them for far too long. As the evening wound down, I sensed something shifting within Emma. There was a weight lifted, a burden released, as if she had shed years of expectations and replaced them with hope and authenticity. It struck me then that tonight had not just illuminated her family's journey. It was the perfect precursor to the life they were collectively stepping into. And so, as the hour approached, the ambient music began to dim with the promise of tomorrow's wedding looming closer. The warmth of that shared evening cast a light of belonging that felt potent and true, rekindling bonds and healing old wounds. I glanced at Emma, and in that fleeting moment of connection, I caught a glimpse of everything she was destined for: the love, the joy, the laughter, and above all, the promise of a new beginning for her family. The wedding day dawned bright and clear, the sun breaking through the clouds with a golden glow that felt like a blessing. I rose early, my heart fluttering with excitement and nervous anticipation. The air seemed charged with the pulse of love and possibility, an energy that coursed through every corner of the house. Having spent days preparing for this moment, I felt a mix of pride and protectiveness toward Emma, as if I were her second mother in some ways. I decided to whip up a hearty breakfast to keep everyone energized for the day ahead. As I clattered around the kitchen, I could picture Emma slipping into her gown, her elegance reflecting the commitment she and Alex shared. The thought brought a smile to my face. Just after breakfast, Emma arrived, a vision of grace and anticipation wrapped in her wedding gown. Delicate lace framing her figure. When she stepped through the door, my breath caught in my throat. "You look stunning," I managed to say, my voice trembling from emotion. "Absolutely radiant." Her cheeks flushed pink as she twirled in front of the mirror, a whirlwind of confidence and joy. "I feel amazing," she exclaimed, spinning happily. "I can't believe this day is finally here." It was undeniable, the transformation she had undergone over the past several weeks, from apprehension to security, was remarkable. The heaviness she had carried seemed to lift, replaced by a contagious excitement that filled the room. We set to work, primping and prepping, the atmosphere buzzing with the thrill of anticipation. As we adjusted hair, applied makeup, and pinned flowers into her bouquet, laughter erupted over trivial things, stories of our own past experiences and mishaps. Each chuckle echoed a sense of unity, reinforcing the familial bonds we had begun to rebuild. Still, I could see moments of hesitation flicker across Emma's face, a hint of nervousness threading through her otherwise radiant smile. I reached for her hand, squeezing it gently to offer reassurance. "This day is about celebrating love, beauty, and the two of you. You've got this." She nodded, drawing strength from my words as we continued preparing. Eventually, it was time to head to the venue, and I watched as Emma's face lit up with anticipation, her excitement reverberating in the air. Stepping into the car felt surreal. We were teetering on the edge of one of life's most monumental events. The ride felt strangely magical, and the world outside blurred into a whirlwind of color and warmth. When we arrived at the venue, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. A flurry of activity buzzed around the space, decorations fluttering in the breeze, and guests mingling in laughter. My heart raced with elation, For this was not just a wedding. It was a culmination of Emma's journey toward constructing a life otherwise defined by love. I could sense the anticipation building as the ceremony hour drew nearer. After a brief moment of catching our breath, we moved into the bridal suite, where Emma periodically checked her reflection, adjusting her hair and dress as if trying to absorb the gravity of what lay ahead. "Are you ready?" I asked gently, a small smile tugging at my lips. She nodded, though I could sense the nervous excitement bubbling beneath the surface. "I'm ready," she replied, her voice steadying as she looked herself in the mirror. It was time for the ceremony, and I knew she needed to embrace this moment fully. Stepping outside, I caught a glimpse of the carefully orchestrated setup. The aisles lined with flowers, chairs adorned with delicate ribbons, and a picturesque archway that framed the horizon. It was breathtaking. As the music began to play, I felt the tears welling up in my eyes, struck by the beauty of the moment. Guests took their seats, anticipation hanging in the air like a charged current. I could see Emma's parents settling in, sharing a collective breath of support as they turned their attention toward the front. The ceremony unfolded like a beautiful story, moments of vulnerability intertwined with laughter, as Emma and Alex exchanged heartfelt vows. Their promises to one another felt both profound and genuine, a reflection of the love they had cultivated through all of life's challenges. I could see that some of the tensions of the past had dissipated, replaced by acceptance and support emerging from their families, a transformation that brought a tear to my eye. But just as I settled into the joy of the moment, a flicker of uncertainty crossed my mind. Would Emma's parents continue to uphold this bond formed in love and unity? I resolved to keep an eye on them, wanting to nurture this healing as Emma blossomed into a new chapter of her life. Emma leaned in to kiss Alex, an electric connection that felt like the final note in a symphony ringing through the air. The cheers from family and friends resonated around us, and I could feel love like a warm blanket enveloped the venue. For the first time, Emma truly looked radiant, a woman ready to forge ahead with her life, love, and authenticity. I took a moment to catch my breath, a flood of emotion crashing over me. I had watched her grow, battle past pain, and cultivate joy, and now, here she was, on one of the most beautiful days of her life. After the ceremony, we transitioned to the reception, where guests mingled over delectable food and clinking glasses. The laughter came easy, the joy palpable as Emma and Alex danced, their movements a reflection of the love that flowed between them. Little moments transformed into lasting memories, and I found myself swept into the excitement, reveling in the connections reignited among family and friends. To my blissful surprise, Emma's parents stepped into the celebration, their smiles bright against the backdrop of the festive decor. They moved toward the dance floor, laughing and embracing the vibrancy of the evening, and I felt a surge of hope coursing through me. Perhaps this day would plant the seeds for their transformation into a family that could learn from the past, rather than remain shackled to it. In between dancing and mingling, I caught up with various friends and family, sharing stories of Emma and Alex's journey, a tale woven from dreams, love, and resilience. This was the perfect balm for my heart, healing the old scars. As the evening progressed, I finally spotted an opportunity to reconnect with Emma's parents amidst the lively crowd. Taking a deep breath, I made my way toward them, each step filled with the desire to check in, to ensure they were feeling the love emanating from that evening. How are you both holding up? I inquired, bringing my warmth into their space. This is more beautiful than I could have imagined, Sarah admitted, her voice sincere. David nodded, an emotional light brightening his eyes. It's truly a lovely transformation. You've all done well, I responded, genuine pride infusing my voice. It takes immense courage to embrace love and vulnerability. As the words faded into the space between us, I watched them smile at each other, a sense of understanding sparking in their shared gaze. In that moment, I believed, truly believed, that they were embarking on a path toward healing, not just for Emma, but for themselves as well. The night wore on, filled with laughter, heartfelt speeches, and memories forged anew beneath the twinkling stars. Emma and Alex's true alignment radiated through every interaction, shimmering with the promise of a future filled with love, honesty, and growth. As the clock ticked closer to the end of the evening, I felt myself pull back slightly, witnessing the scene with a deep sense of gratitude. Everything they had faced, every piece of pain and heartache, had converged to create this moment of beauty, one filled with laughter and unbreakable bonds. I knew that tomorrow would come with its challenges, but today we celebrated hope, love, and the promise of a bright future ahead. The wedding had unfolded like a beautifully crafted story, and as I stood quietly in the aftermath, I couldn't help but revel in the joy that lingered in the air. Laughter echoed around me, the clinking of glasses a symphony celebrating love, family, and unity. Yet, even amidst the whirlwind of excitement, I discerned something profound. The day had been a turning point, not just for Emma and Alex, but for all of us, especially Emma's parents. As the festivities continued, I wandered through the gathering, seeking moments that captured the essence of this unforgettable day. Friends and family filled every corner, each one radiating love and support. I caught sight of Sarah and David sharing a heartfelt exchange, smiles brightening their faces, and warmth spilled from their very souls. It felt as though the weight of the past burdens had been lifted in the presence of newfound hope. Later, as the music shifted to a slower tempo, I watched as Emma and Alex swayed gently on the dance floor, their movements fluid and serene. It was a moment imbued with what felt like a sacred energy, a celebration not just of a union, but of transformation. The gesture stirred something deep within me, almost as if I were witnessing the birth of something new and beautiful in their love, a testament that healing was possible. I noted how Emma leaned into Alex, her head resting gently against his shoulder. They shared quiet words, their smiles illuminating the space around them. Their love story, derived from struggles and challenges, was in full bloom before my very eyes. As the song came to an end, I felt a gentle nudge on my arm. Turning, I found Sarah at my side, her expression warm and inviting. "I just wanted to thank you," she said, her voice sincere. Today was truly special, and I see Emma in a light I didn't know existed. I smiled, feeling the love radiating from her words. "You've done wonderful work today. She needed the support, and you provided it in abundance." The relief on her face was palpable, a moment of clarity that hinted at their family's journey going forward. Just then, David joined us, wrapping an arm around Sarah's shoulder. "You played a big role in bringing this together. Thank you for your kindness," he added, a deep sincerity in his voice. "We both realize there is so much we have to work on, but we want to be there for Emma as she builds her future." The struggles they had faced seemed to vanish under the light of their resolve. That's all any parent can hope for, I remarked, the warmth creeping into my voice. To truly be there for their children, to grow alongside them. As conversations melded into laughter around us, I felt a sense of purpose wash over me. My presence was not limited to being a mere spectator. I had helped foster this new era, a family rising to embrace love and acceptance. You're doing it, I said softly to them. You're embracing the challenges ahead with open hearts. Upon hearing my words, Emma danced closer, still wrapped in Alex's arms, and I gestured for her to join us. You should celebrate your parents, too. They've taken significant steps today, I said, beckoning her to come forth. Emma's smile brightened, her gaze darting between her parents and Alex. Thank you for believing in me enough to support me. I truly appreciate everything you've done, she said, turning toward Sarah and David. This day means more than I can express. As the emotion wove through her voice, I watched the way Sarah and David's frowns turned to smiles, a warmth spreading through them as they absorbed Emma's gratitude. It was in this moment that I realized the power of sharing our truths, the ability to bridge gaps and create understanding, even in the face of past adversities. With the celebration in full swing, the mood shifted back to laughter and vibrant storytelling. Most of Emma's friends regaled us with tales of her quirky personality, the escapades that had shaped her into the beautiful person she had become. Alex's parents also chimed in, sharing glimpses of their own journey in parenting and the ups and downs of raising a family. After a time, I noticed the clock ticking away, ticking closer toward the end of the night. It struck me that this was not just a wedding. It represented growth, healing, and the metamorphosis of a family. Emma and Alex, with each word shared and moment lived, were crafting a bond that would forever redefine their lives. Yet something deep within me stirred, a foreboding instinct that we hadn't quite reached the end of this journey. Just as I was caught in thought, a commotion broke out among the guests near the entrance, an undercurrent of hushed whispers and sudden gasps. I turned, nervously watching as a scene unfolded. Emma stood rigid, her eyes wide with surprise as she took a step forward. "Who is it?" I asked, glancing at her. She looked as though the ground beneath her feet had begun to tremble. I don't know," she murmured. The crowd parted to reveal a figure stepping inside, lingering just beyond the threshold. My heart raced as my eyes widened in recognition. It was Emma's estranged uncle, a man whose presence had once brought both joy and pain, complicating the very fabric of her family's history. Tension hung thick in the air, and I felt myself holding my breath as time seemed to freeze. All eyes were on him, and the atmosphere shifted into something charged with uncertainty. "Emma," he said, his voice steady but cautious as he surveyed the room. "Can we talk?" Her expression shifted from shock to a blend of confusion and anger. "What are you doing here?" She stood tall, refusing to cower, her voice laced with defiance even as questions flickered in her eyes. "I came to apologize. I know I may not have a place in your life anymore, but I've missed you," he said, his gaze darting to the crowd that had now swarmed around them, hanging on every word. The room hushed, tension prickling in the atmosphere as Emma grappled with the truth of his presence. A mix of emotions flooded her features: shock, anger, and a longing so deep she could hardly contain it. "Missed me?" Emma spat, disbelief crossing her face. "You were the first to cut me out. You turned your back when we needed you the most." Her voice trembled, her heart visibly laid bare. "I was wrong, Emma. I realize that now," he implored, taking a small step forward. I never should have walked away. The energy in the room was taut, and with each passing moment, every guest held a collective breath, united against the wave of past grievances flooding back. Would this visit unravel all the progress Emma had achieved? Emma recoiled, tears glimmering in her eyes, the conflicts of her past flashing vividly in her mind. You think you can just show up here and act like nothing happened? I'm getting married today, and you want a place in my life? Her anger resonated with strength, an echo of years of hurt. As I glanced toward her parents, I could see the protective instincts ignite in them. David took a deep breath, stepping closer to Emma, an unspoken promise captured between them. You don't have to listen to him, Emma. You've made progress. This is your day. Somewhere deep inside, I remembered the promise of love that had enveloped us all that night, the very essence of family and connection that had begun to bloom anew. Emma, please, her uncle pleaded, desperation fueling his words. I want to make things right. Can we not try to mend the past? But the grip of emotions hadn't just returned for Emma. It charged through me as well. Knowing the magnitude of what this could mean for her wedding day, her new beginning with Alex. I stepped forward, gently placing my hand on Emma's shoulder to ground her. You don't have to engage with this if you don't want to. It's your choice, I said firmly, wanting to convey support amidst the chaos. Looking into her eyes, I could see the swirling emotions she battled: betrayal, hurt, the fervent desire to move forward while wrestling with the memories that flooded her heart. She exhaled, the fight in her eyes flickering momentarily. You made your choices. Her voice, though softer, remained firm. And this day isn't about the past. It's about love. As the turmoil danced in the acknowledging silence, I realized without a doubt that the strength that had carried Emma thus far was far more potent than the shadows of her past. Whatever ultimatum lay before her, whichever path she chose, she would forge her own journey. Just as I thought the storm would soon pass, I witnessed Emma's uncle slowly retreat from the gathering, the weight of his decisions crashing down like the last remnants of a storm cloud. The tension dissipated, returning laughter and warmth to the venue, surfacing amidst the echoes of love re-emerging from the shadows. Once again, Alex stepped close to Emma, wrapping an arm around her as promised. Their connection formed an unbreakable bond forged through battles fought and won. In those moments, I was reminded of how love can be resilient, a powerful force capable of navigating the complexities life presents. Emma stood made anew, a steadfast woman ready to embrace what lay ahead, her day ultimately defined by how she would choose to march forward. As the festivities resumed, I captured a glimpse of hope. Emma's journey had forged its own clear course, regardless of the past. I trusted she would strengthen her foundations as a new life had begun, gifting their family a bright future, while courageously holding on to the measure of her unyielding spirit. As the evening drew on, the atmosphere transformed into a glowing celebration of love and unity. The dance floor lit up with laughter, cheers blending seamlessly into the vibrant music that enveloped the space. I felt a swell of pride as I witnessed Emma and Alex radiating happiness, their connection transcending every obstacle they had faced. Friends and family joined in the festivities, enveloping the room with a sense of warmth and support, and I couldn't help but think back to just a few months prior, when uncertainty clouded their path. Emma twirled with Alex, her dress swirling beautifully around her, and he held her close, their steps perfectly in sync, a reflection of the love that had blossomed against all odds. I watched their faces, each filled with joy and assurance, wondering how all the pieces had finally fallen into place. In that moment, everything felt right in the world. But as the night continued, I sensed another layer of complexity creeping into the evening's warmth. I caught sight of Emma's parents, still radiating the glow of acceptance, but also visibly shaken, perhaps still grappling with the unexpected confrontation that had nearly derailed the evening. I could see the conversations they were having among themselves, their expressions serious. I made my way toward them, wanting to lend support as they navigated this unexpected terrain. "How are you two holding up?" I asked softly, hopeful to encourage a view of reconciliation. Sarah turned to me, her expression earnest. "It's beautiful to see Emma so happy, but I can't shake the feeling of regret for what we've missed." "You have the opportunity to create new memories with her now," I reassured her. "This wedding is a fresh beginning for your family." David nodded, a flicker of resolve illuminating his gaze. "We're determined to support her as we move forward, but the past lingers, and I worry about Emma getting hurt again." I could hear the concern in his tone, a father's instinct trying to protect his child from the storms of life. Recognizing that the past exists is part of the journey, but what matters now is how you choose to walk with her moving forward, I said, feeling the weight of my words as I hoped to illuminate their way. Show her you care through actions, embrace the moments you have. As the evening continued, I encouraged them to find Emma and remind her how loved she truly was. They needed to be together as a family moving forward, not just fractured pieces. Taking a deep breath, they nodded in unison and ventured toward Emma. I observed as they approached, uncertainty clouding their features, but determination propelling them forward. I held my breath, hoping this moment would further cement the unity we had envisioned. Emma noticed them coming closer and her smile lit up, anticipation glowing in her eyes. I watched as she embraced them both, tension fading as they shared laughter and warmth. This exchange held the potential for healing, an avenue leading toward acceptance and love. I felt a sense of fulfillment wash over me as I realized this was the family dynamic we had all hoped for. As they joined back into the celebrations, I could see that the weight of old grievances began to lift. Emma's parents mingled with the other guests, sharing stories and laughter as the night danced on. But then, just when I thought the atmosphere had truly solidified into joy, another unexpected twist unfolded. Music shifted again, and a familiar figure approached the dance floor, drawing my attention away from the bustling crowd. Emma's uncle, lingering in the shadows as he attempted to find his place in the unfolding evening. A tense silence swept through the crowd as they took notice of his arrival. Emma's face paled slightly, her smile faltering as she locked eyes with him. He hesitated, a look of uncertainty plastered across his face, but then he spoke with a shaky voice, loud enough for the gathering to hear. "I want to apologize to you, Emma, truly," he said, his tone earnest. "I never intended to hurt you, and I realize that the things I said and did in the past have done exactly that. It was wrong." The crowd stirred, whispers dancing between groups as people strained to hear his words. "I know it's too late for me to make things right, but I wanted to try," he continued, his voice steadying as he drew on reserves of courage. "I hope you can find it in your heart to allow me back into the fold, even if I don't deserve it." Emma looked at him, vulnerability flickering in her expression as she absorbed his sincerity. It was a complex moment. fraught with mixed emotions and deep-rooted history. Pain meeting the possibility of healing. "Thank you for saying that," Emma replied, her voice trembling slightly but regaining strength. "A lot has happened between us, but I'm learning how to navigate my feelings." The air shimmered with the potential for reconciliation, the atmosphere thick with anticipation as people held their breaths, eager to see how Emma would respond. "I can't promise that things will go back to the way they were," she continued, "but I'm willing to at least try to understand you better, even if it's difficult." The room erupted softly in a flurry of supportive murmurs, uplifted by the bridging of two souls who had once stood worlds apart. Emma's uncle stepped forward, cautiously meeting her with outstretched arms. "You'd be surprised how much I've missed you, even from afar," he said. Emma paused, her expression flickering, but then she enveloped him in a cautious embrace, one that felt tentative, yet hopeful. It was a moment of release, a fracture in the heaviness of the past, yielding to the blossoming potential of what came next. The crowd reacted with joy, shouts of encouragement filling the air as they witnessed this act of courage between family members. As I stood observing this incredible scene, gratitude washed over me. Love had once again triumphed over turmoil, opening pathways of communication, acceptance, and healing for the family gathered that night. The music resumed, filling the space around us with warmth, while laughter returned to fill the gaps left in years of silence. I hadn't expected such an emotional turn of events. Even in the wake of change, there was beauty waiting to unfold. As the evening came alive once more in the festivities that ensued, I felt a sense of peace settle inside me. Emma had navigated her family complexities with grace, and the support of those around her had fostered a night gleaming with love, resilience, and the promise of new beginnings. Together, we danced under a canopy of stars, the love that radiated among us becoming palpable, a testament to the resilience of the human heart to blossom in even the most challenging words. As the night wore on, the wedding celebration thrummed with renewed energy, a kind of electric joy that filled every corner of the venue. Laughter exploded amidst shared memories, and I could feel the tapestry of connections weaving tighter and stronger around Emma and Alex. The moments of healing and reclamation were subtly stitched into the laughter. Their love had crafted a lifeline, one that would endure against the odds. I watched as Emma and Alex danced together, their movements fluid and graceful, a perfect reflection of their unwavering connection. Beneath the shimmering lights, it was as if the world around them faded, leaving just the two of them entwined in a beautiful bubble of hope and renewal. Each twirl, each laugh shared, echoed the promises they had made moments earlier. It was intoxicating to witness, filling me with a sense of pride that I could hardly contain. As the music shifted, I felt a tug at my sleeve. Turning, I found myself face to face with Sarah, her expression illuminated with newfound warmth. "Can we talk?" she asked, hope flickering in her eyes. I could see the fullness of the moment in her gaze, a chance for deeper connection and understanding. I motioned for her to follow me toward a quieter corner of the venue where we could speak away from the revelry. "I just wanted to apologize for everything," she began, her voice steady yet tinged with regret. "I realize how much I've missed in Emma's life, and I want to be better." "Sarah, it's never too late to deepen your relationship with her," I replied, my heart swelling with reassurance. "Today has already proven that." She nodded slowly, her eyes glistening with moisture. "I'm proud of her today. She's shown such strength." "That strength comes from a place of vulnerability," I remarked gently, meeting her gaze. "She's been through a lot, but she's learning how to forge the family she's always wanted. You both can create a supportive relationship moving forward." Sarah's expression shifted, and I saw her begin to absorb the weight of those words. "I want that, truly. I want to show both Emma and Alex that I'm on their side." The sincerity in her voice was palpable, and the gravity of her intentions hung high above us. In that moment, a sense of urgency sparked in me. "Why don't you speak to her now? Tell her how you feel," I urged, wanting to help bridge that gap. "The dance floor is right there. This is your moment." With a nod, Sarah drew a breath, collecting the courage I knew she had within her. "You're right. Thank you." I watched as she walked back toward Emma, her steps filled with purpose and intent. As the vibrant music played and the crowd danced, I turned my attention back to Alex, who had gathered a few friends around him, sharing stories and laughter as they toasted to the newlyweds. I felt a warmth envelop me watching him navigate the dance floor, confident and free-spirited, just as Emma had described him. His loyalties shone brightly, their love defining something truly transformational among us. Moments later, I spotted Emma and Sarah standing together, whispering to each other amidst the backdrop of laughter. Sarah's expression had softened, and Emma looked at her with an open heart, their shared laughter dancing through the air like fireflies on a summer night. I knew then that whatever had transpired would renew their connection. The rest of the night soared with laughter and joy, an unforgettable celebration woven into the fabric of their lives. Guests trickled in and out of conversations, smiles infectious as they embraced the warmth of love and celebration that enveloped the atmosphere. As I sat back in a chair, stretching my legs, I took a deep breath, numerous emotions swirling through me. I realized how much this wedding represented, a promise rooted in love, along with the potential for new beginnings and healing. The pieces were falling together within their family, and I felt privileged to have played a part in that transformation. Soon, it was time for the cake cutting, and Emma and Alex stood together, beaming in their own world as friends and relatives gathered around them. Laughter erupted as they playfully smashed cake into each other's faces, delighting in the goofiness of the moment. The joy spilled over, electrifying the room as everyone cheered, their smiles echoing the laughter shared throughout the night. With the cake devoured and the joyous chaos settling, Emma took a moment to gaze around, her eyes sparkling. "I can't believe how incredible today has been," she said, her voice carrying a mixture of disbelief and joy. "You deserve every moment of happiness," I replied, moving closer to her. "This day is yours. Embrace it fully. And everyone here? They're incredible," she added, glancing at the gathering of friends and family, each face a testament to the love that had flourished throughout the evening. Just then, Alex joined us, wrapping an arm around Emma, his smile wide and genuine. "I can't believe we did it. We're actually married." The excitement permeated the air as they both shared a breathless laugh, the exhilaration translating into an electrifying energy all around. "We should celebrate this moment forever," Emma declared, her eyes shimmering. With the sound of clinking glasses, a toast was proposed, and the crowd quickly turned to focus on the couple, laughter bursting forth all around. "To Emma and Alex, may you embrace every step of this journey together." Cheers erupted, the clinking of glasses a resolute echo of support and love. Their wedding day hadn't merely been a ceremony. It had transformed into a beautiful tapestry, a continuum of hope, acceptance, and renewal woven among families. As I stood among the celebrations, I reflected on how far Emma had come. Her journey had taken her through struggles and triumphs, a testament to the power of love to mend long-fractured bonds. But even as joy filled the room, I was reminded that the real struggle lay not just in the past, but also in continuing to nurture and grow those renewed relationships moving forward. The joy of the dance floor erupted as Emma and Alex twirled in their own world, surrounded by friends celebrating the life they were choosing to create together. And yet, I could sense that the echoes of love hadn't just transformed Emma and Alex. They were continuing to ripple outward, creating a new family dynamic for the rest of us. As the music played and people danced together, I felt renewed in my own spirit, uplifted by the realization that we were all holding each other through love, tenderness, and acceptance. I could finally see how vital these connections were, how intertwined they had become, and how the promise of tomorrow would carry us forward into the embrace of the future. With a heart full of hope, I decided to let the moment wash over me, surrendering to the magic of the night. The night wore on, filled with laughter, warm embraces, and the flicker of candlelight casting soft shadows around us. Emma and Alex moved together as if they were the only two people in the world, a captivating whirlwind of love and joy that seemed to radiate off them like sunlight. I took a mental snapshot of their happiness, hoping to hold it close for years to come. But as I glanced around, I couldn't help but notice fleeting moments where vulnerabilities remained. Subtle tensions still lingered beneath the surface for Emma's parents, their own paths still in need of healing. David was deep in conversation with a few relatives, but every now and then I could catch him searching for Sarah amidst the crowd, concern painted lightly across his features. I made my way toward them, hoping to ease any lingering discomfort. David, everything held together beautifully. I think Emma and Alex's love is spilling into everyone here tonight, I said warmly, wanting to elevate their spirits. He nodded, but I could see the seriousness in his eyes. It's beautiful, he said slowly, but I still worry about Emma. I want to make sure we are truly there for her, he added, glancing at Sarah, who was speaking with friends, laughter risking to escape from her lips. You will be, David, I reassured him. You're on the right path. Seeing the couple reconnect during the wedding reminded me of the road they had to traverse, but the willingness I perceived in them gave me hope. Just be honest with her. Show her that your love is unconditional, even during the difficult conversations. As I spoke with him, I felt a sense of kinship toward both David and Sarah. They were visibly trying to navigate their own feelings while celebrating their daughter's new chapter, and I wanted to ensure they felt empowered too. It was all part of the journey. With another glance across the dance floor, I caught Emma's eye. She caught my gaze and smiled, her expression glowing with joy. That very smile recharged my heart, a reminder that love is a living force, always evolving, constantly finding ways to thrive amid uncertainty. The evening progressed seamlessly, and soon it was time for the final dance, an intimate moment shared between Emma and Alex. As they glided across the floor, wrapped in each other's embrace, I sensed the world around them fade, leaving just the two of them locked in an ethereal bubble of love. The music swelled, an enchanting melody that felt like the very essence of their relationship distilled into song. As the song reached its crescendo, I couldn't help but absorb the beauty of their union. I had seen them overcome obstacles to grow stronger together, And now they had transformed their love into something that could weather any storm. Their vows were carved into my heart as I witnessed their story unfold, one that celebrated not only their love, but the resilience that had brought them here. Once the dance concluded, Emma and Alex turned to face their gathered guests, their joy almost palpable. "Thank you all for coming tonight," Emma announced, her voice ringing clear. "This day has meant everything to us. To feel the love and support from all of you reminds us that life is richer when shared with those we cherish." Cheers erupted once more, and I felt a wave of affection wash over me, an affirmation that we were indeed part of something beautiful becoming. As I turned to look at Sarah and David, the warmth in their eyes mirrored that connection, both proud and encouraged by Emma's strength. But then, the clock struck midnight, and an unsettling thought crept into my mind. The night had hosted an array of emotions, and amidst all the celebrations, I remembered the shadows of uncertainty that could still impact their relationship going forward. As the festivities reached a pause, I felt an urgency to share my thoughts with Emma before the night slipped away. I sought her out, catching her gaze amid the waning chaos. "Emma!" I called, maneuvering through the crowd toward her. "Yes?" she answered, her smile radiant, yet beneath it, I glimpsed a glitter of vulnerability still flickering in her eyes. "I think now might be a good time to have that deeper conversation we talked about earlier," I ventured, gently raising an eyebrow in suggestion. She nodded, glancing at Alex, who was engaged in conversation with a group of friends. "You're right. I want to talk to him about everything we've faced and how we can move forward together," she replied, determination lighting up her features. As I watched her confidence solidify, my heart swelled. She was uncovering her truth and embracing it, ready to share the complexities of her journey with the very man who had accepted her for everything she was. "Let's do it now, while the night is still fresh," I urged, guiding her gently toward Alex, who was laughing with friends. As we approached, I could sense the energy shift between them, two magnets drawn together, just waiting for the perfect moment to connect. "Alex," Emma interrupted him gently, her voice carrying the weight of their relationship. He turned, his smile broadening as their eyes met. "Can we talk for a moment? I have something important I want to share." I felt my heart race as I watched them step aside, creating a softer space where vulnerability could thrive. I lingered nearby, wishing to subtly support. Emma started to fidget nervously, her hands moving as she structured her thoughts. "Alex, I know this wedding has been a beautiful journey for us, but there's something deeper I need you to understand," she said, her voice trembling slightly. I could feel emotions coiling within her, her desire to be fully open taking center stage. "Anything?" Alex replied, his expression earnest, eyes focused entirely on her. Emma took a deep breath, steadying herself before proceeding. "My past has shaped me in ways you might not see, and I want to ensure I'm fully transparent about that with you." As I watched, I felt a mix of pride and concern. This was the moment she had been waiting for, one where love would triumph over past vulnerability. "I've struggled to let people in because of the pain from my family, and I need you to know that before we venture further." Alex nodded, his heart open as he encouraged her to continue. "What do you want me to know?" "That my relationship with my parents has been complicated, and I'm still learning how to embrace that," she shared, her words flowing. "I need you to understand that love can be fierce yet fractured, and I don't want to hide from that anymore." his brows knitted together slightly as he listened, absorbing the weight of every word. "Emma, I want you to know that I'm here for you. I want to support you as you're working through this. We're in this together. I want you in my life, Alex. I just need you to understand there will be challenges, but I'm committed to facing them together," she articulated, her voice steady. Alex stepped closer, enveloping her in his arms, the intimacy of their connection, the shielding cocoon they created. "I'll stand by you no matter what," he murmured, his voice filled with sincerity. "Our love is what we build together, past, present, and future." As they stood there, wrapped in each other's embrace, I sensed something monumental had shifted, an unbreakable promise forged through understanding and acceptance. The weight of their pasts merged into a powerful present that illuminated their future. It filled me with warmth to witness the convergence, a moment of true connection blossoming as they both surrendered to the journey ahead. I stepped back quietly, allowing them their space to breathe, knowing they needed this moment alone. The rest of the reception continued in a celebratory flourish, and I turned my attention back to the party, letting the laughter and joy wash over me once more. But in the back of my mind, I couldn't shake the feeling of exhilaration. This was not merely a wedding, this was a transformative moment, an act of courage that each of us could carry forward into our own lives, a chance to embrace love unfettered by the shadows of the past. As the evening wore on, I found myself drifting back to the dance floor, immersed in the music that pulsed around me. It felt like the heartbeat of love, a reminder that relationships, however complex, were worth every ounce of effort in order to create deep, enriching connections. Every encounter, every embrace, every lingering gaze between Emma and Alex only served to reinforce the journey they had collectively embarked upon, a shared path stitched together by understanding and unyielding hope. And as the final song echoed through the night, I finally grasped the truth settling within me. Life is a tapestry, one woven with threads of love, resilience, and moments filled with rich authenticity. This journey was theirs, and it was just beginning. As the last of the evening's music faded into a gentle hum, the atmosphere grew tender, each guest lingering just a moment longer to savor the magic that had enveloped us all. Emma and Alex, glowing with the warmth of their newfound vows, made their rounds, expressing gratitude to every friend and family member who had touched their lives. The joy radiating from them was palpable, a beacon of hope illuminating paths yet to be explored. With the crescendo of celebration behind us, I found a quiet corner near the back, relishing the moment. Multiple emotions swirled within me: pride in Emma's journey, relief at witnessing her parents' transformation, and hope for the future they would build together. But alongside that warmth, an understanding grew deep within the core of my being. While healing had taken place, the journey of rebuilding wasn't over. The celebrations began to wind down as guests started to drift toward the exit, laughter trailing behind them like a gentle breeze. I watched as Emma's parents shared a laugh with Alex's, precisely the connection I had hoped for. It seemed their families were finally intertwining in a way I had longed to see, a blending that gave them all the chance to rewrite their narratives. Emma's laughter pierced the air, drawing my attention back to her as she stood among her closest friends, a circle of love surrounding her. She looked breathtaking, the glow of her wedding dress catching the soft light as she twirled with delight, relishing the final moments of a day that had felt both like an ending and a beginning. Moments like these were priceless. I stored them away in my heart, knowing they would bring me warmth during more challenging times. I moved to join her, proud of the woman she had become, of the love she had nurtured and cultivated. Can you believe it's all over? I mused, my smile bright against the backdrop of dimming lights. It's just beginning, she declared, her eyes sparkling with visions of the future. I can't wait to start this new chapter with Alex. I feel like I can finally breathe. Her words resonated deeply. In her, I saw a reflection of hope, a symbol of how love could conquer barriers erected by life's challenges. It made my own challenges seem less daunting, their power diminished in the light of her boldness. As the last of the guests filtered out, leaving only the echoes of laughter behind, Emma turned to me, a thoughtful expression crossing her face. "Can we talk for a moment?" she asked earnestly, drawing me away from the festive remnants of the venue. "Of course. What's on your mind?" I replied softly, wanting to ensure she felt supported. She glanced back toward Alex, who was helping clean up with his family, his presence both reassuring and comforting. "It's just, today reminded me how the past can shape our present. I can feel the weight of everything, yet I want to truly step into our future." "Believe me, it's perfectly normal to feel that way after such an emotional day," I reassured her. "You're transitioning into a new chapter of your life, and you have every right to reflect on where you've come from." "I know. It's just that I realize that letting go of old patterns requires constant work. I can't hide the history anymore. It's part of who I am. But I also want to create something new with Alex. I want our future to be authentic and free from the shadows of my past." Emma's sincerity resonated deeply, a mirror reflecting the truths we often shy away from. "It's hard to find that balance between acknowledging the past and moving forward," I responded, my heart swelling with pride as I watched her reflect on what she truly desired. Her voice took on a softer tone, filled with vulnerability. "I want to learn how to embrace my family while setting healthy boundaries. It's just daunting." "I believe you can do it," I said firmly, ready to bolster her confidence. "Boundaries are essential to creating the life you want, but they need to be communicated with love. You've started showing that vulnerability with Alex and your parents. Keep nurturing that honesty." Emma nodded, the fire beneath her eyes glowing brightly. "I want to hold myself accountable, to make commitments to my happiness. I don't want to let anyone down, including myself." "You won't," I assured her gently. "Every step you take moving forward is you claiming your space and your truth. There will be bumps along the way, but the foundation you're building with Alex is filled with love and resilience." As our conversation deepened, I felt a sense of gratitude. These moments together, the honest exchanges, were helping me introspect too. Emma's journey echoed my own in many ways. I had weathered storms of my own, continually learning how to embrace change with open arms. The room around us felt quieter as the celebratory din faded, a cocoon of warmth enveloping our discussion. "I really appreciate everything you've done for us," she said softly, her voice filled with sincerity. "You've been a beacon of support." "I'm honored to be a part of your journey, Emma. You've grown so beautifully, and I can't wait to witness everything life has in store for you," I replied, my words laced with deep affection. The moment became a shared embrace of hope and commitment, an acknowledgement that while the wedding day felt like an endpoint, it was truly a magnificent beginning. With each word exchanged, We fortified the bond we created amidst the bustling whirlwind of life. Just then, Alex approached, his face still radiating that post-wedding glow. "I was looking for you two. Can we gather our families for a final toast?" he suggested, excitement woven in his tone. "Of course," Emma replied, her eyes alight with joy, and I felt my heart swell knowing they were stepping into this journey as a united front. As we gathered the remaining family and friends, I sensed the energy shift once more. This was the culmination of their love story, the moment where all the pieces, past, present, and future, would intertwine beautifully. Once everyone had settled, Alex stood before them, his grin bright as he raised his glass high. "Thank you all for being part of this incredible day. Emma and I may be newlyweds, but we feel surrounded by a family that has embraced us fully. Here's to love, laughter, and those who support us on our journey." Cheers erupted, glasses clinking, voices echoing laughter through the air, an affirming reminder of the love encapsulated in this special day. I felt a sense of resolution as eyes sparkled around the room. Each person present became woven into this tapestry of memories Emma and Alex created. The celebrations swirled around me as the evening came to an end, but I felt a renewed sense of clarity guiding me through the ebb and flow of those final moments. I had witnessed the strength of love, of family being rebuilt, and it left me intoxicated by the possibilities that lay ahead. As the last of the guests said their goodbyes and the remnants of laughter danced away, I stole a glance at Emma and Alex, knowing that their journey was just beginning. They would face challenges ahead, but armed with love, they could navigate any storm that came their way. With a heart full of gratitude, I stepped back into the world outside. The promise of tomorrow awaited us all, full of potential, waiting to be written anew. The following days after the wedding felt surreal, as if the world had been painted anew in vibrant colors, vivid, hopeful shades that reminded me of the love that had flourished within Emma and Alex's union. As the celebrations swung to a close and the echoes of joy settled, I felt the weight of the journey that still lay ahead, not just for them, but for Emma's family as they shifted into this new chapter of togetherness. It was early morning when I received a text from Emma, a sweet message filled with gratitude. "Thank you for everything. I can't believe the wedding actually happened. Can we get together soon? I want to talk." My heart leapt at the thought of her reaching out. Most certainly the spark of inquiry and introspection had ignited within her. I quickly replied, suggesting we meet for coffee at our favorite cafe. A cozy nook that had borne witness to many of our heartfelt conversations. When the time arrived, I found myself excitedly entering the cafe, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee enveloping me as I scanned the room. Emma was already seated at a corner table, her eyes shining with a mix of excitement and perhaps a hint of anxiety. "Hey!" she exclaimed, her smile brightening the dullness surrounding the cafe. "Hi, gorgeous. How are you feeling?" I asked, settling in across from her. "I'm feeling great, but I just keep replaying the day in my head. I can't believe it all went so well," she said, her voice laced with enthusiasm. It was infectious, her joy radiating like sunlight breaking through clouds. "I think it was the most beautiful day, a culmination of everything you've worked toward. You've come so far, Emma, and I'm proud of you," I reminded her, my heart swelling with affection. "Thank you. I feel like I'm constantly rediscovering myself. Since the wedding, I've thought so much about what the future holds and how I can strengthen my relationships, especially with my parents," she admitted, her expression growing serious. That's a wonderful realization, I replied, deeply appreciative of her newfound clarity. What are you hoping to achieve? I want to keep the lines of communication open, to create a safe space where we can talk honestly about our feelings, without fear of the past getting in the way. She answered, a spark of determination igniting in her gaze. That sounds like a solid plan. Have you thought of a way to approach them? I inquired gently, wanting to encourage her to articulate her thoughts. Yes. I've decided to invite them over for dinner next week. I want it to be relaxed, with an open-hearted atmosphere. It'll be our chance to reconnect without the tension from the wedding. Just a fresh start, she explained, her excitement growing. That sounds perfect. It's a great way to ensure they understand your intentions moving forward. I could see the wheels turning in her mind. She was finally taking the reins and steering her relationships toward a better future. As I sipped my coffee, Emma couldn't contain her excitement. And you know what? I want to celebrate this newfound connection with them. Perhaps I can cook a family recipe together, something that means a lot to me. What a lovely idea, I said, excitement bubbling in my chest for her. Food can hold so much significance, and cooking together can bond you all even more. Exactly. I just want to unveil that side of me. It could help strengthen our ties, Emma said, her enthusiasm infectious. But just as I reveled in her optimism, I sensed a shadow flicker across her face. The unsurety of navigating these complex relationships still haunted her. I just hope it goes well, she added, a hint of worry breaking through her joy. Remember, you are laying a foundation for healing and understanding. The most important thing you can do is be open and honest, I encouraged gently, watching her pulse with possibilities as she processed my words. She nodded, but the worry lingered in her eyes. I just don't want things to crumble. I worry that if we dive into the past, the hurt will resurface. I reached across the table, squeezing her hand gently. You're not rehashing past pain. You're learning to embrace it as part of your story, moving forward with love in your heart. We talked for hours, sipping coffee and sharing lighthearted stories, and Emma opened up, sharing her plans for her future with Alex. I could sense the energy of hope growing stronger as she articulated her ideas and desires. As our conversation drew to a close, I felt a swell of admiration for her courage. I can't wait to hear how dinner goes. You've grown so much, and I'm excited to see where this takes you, I said with a smile. Thank you. I'm feeling really good about this, Emma replied, her spirits lifted once again. As we finished up and headed out into the crisp afternoon air, I felt a profound sense of connection between us. The growth we both experienced in our lives was tangible, a shared understanding that transcended our individual journeys. Days turned into a flurry of preparations as Emma organized her dinner plans, excitement coloring her every conversation. I could hear her voice light up as she described the meal planning, the recipes she wanted to share, and the kind of atmosphere she envisioned. Finally, the day of the dinner arrived, and the air crackled with anticipation. Emma prepped furiously in the kitchen, her energy infectious. She had gathered a small assortment of her favorite family recipes, hoping to rekindle the connection she had longed for. Everything smells amazing, I commented as I walked in, struck by the warm aroma of herbs and spices wafting through the air. The dining table was set beautifully, with flickering candles and charming decorations adding a touch of intimacy to the meal. Thank you. I want this to feel welcoming. Tonight is all about openness, she said, her eyes sparkling with determination. I could see her optimism shining bright once more as she donned an apron, ready to embrace this moment. When the doorbell rang, Emma's heart raced, and she shot me a nervous glance. "It's time," she murmured, glancing at the clock. "Just breathe," I encouraged, wanting to fortify her resolve. "You're ready for this." As Emma opened the door, an air of nervous excitement enveloped us all. Her parents stood there, slightly hesitant but determined, their smiles an encouraging reminder of the path they'd chosen. "Welcome! Come in!" Emma exclaimed, her energy uplifting. I stepped back slightly, allowing the moment between them to melt as they began engaging in small talk. As they moved into the living room, Emma ushered her parents toward the dining table, the warm glow of candles inviting them toward the spread of lovingly prepared dishes. My heart swelled with pride as Emma's voice took on a tone of confidence once more. "Tonight, I wanted to share some family recipes with you both," she explained as she began serving them, her expressions earnest, revealing the love she poured into this meal. The conversation flowed easily, the barrier between the past and present beginning to fuse as they navigated shared stories and cherished memories. I watched Emma's parents lean in, the warmth of their surroundings helping to break the ice, and my heart fluttered with hope as gentle laughter broke out. At one point, Sarah looked around at Emma's warm table setting, her expression tinged with nostalgia. "You've really brought the heart back into this home, Emma," she said genuinely. The sincerity in her voice held the promise of new connections, rekindling the bond they had once shared. Emma, touched, replied, "I want us to create new memories, ones that we can build upon together. Music and laughter are vital to our family, and I'd love to nurture that going forward." And oh, how lovely it felt to watch them share their laughter, to see moments of vulnerability transform into tranquility, a celebration of togetherness nestled deep within the flavors of love. As dinner progressed, I noticed Sarah and David openly discussing their past traumas, trying to weave their family history into a rich tapestry of hope. Emma encouraged them with verbal nods, fostering this moment of openness, her heart expanded by every word shared. "Family is complicated," David remarked, setting down his fork. "But it's beautiful when we can learn to embrace it." "Yes," Emma replied, her voice soft. "I want us to be a family, not just tied by blood, but by love and understanding." As the meal drew to a close, Emma stood up, a small smile gracing her lips. "Thank you both for joining me tonight," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "It means a lot to me to be able to share this with you." Their responses were immediate, infused with sincerity. "No, thank you for having us. This has been a beautiful evening," Sarah replied, her eyes shining with emotion. Encouraged by the success of the evening, Emma felt a renewed sense of freedom in her heart. The barriers that had previously constrained her began to loosen as she embraced this newfound understanding and connection with her parents. As we cleaned up and settled into the cozy aftermath of dinner, I took a moment to reflect on the upheaval of emotions the evening had stirred. It felt as if Emma's family was moving toward a reconciliation long overdue, a step into openness and understanding that would carry forward from this moment on. As Emma's parents lingered, I could sense the shared determination that had emerged from the dinner. Goodbyes blended into possibilities as they promised to continue the conversation. Steps to nurture the ties binding them together once more. In that space, I marveled at the impact love could have when nurtured, how the threads that once frayed had begun to mend. Emma's bravery, and the forging of that bond, now intertwined with the shared experiences of her family. As I walked home that night, a sense of warmth enveloped me, the air sparkling with the promise of a brighter tomorrow. The following week was a delicate dance of emotions as Emma and her parents navigated their shared commitments toward rebuilding their relationship. In the wake of the dinner, I felt a renewed sense of hope lingering in the air. It wasn't just about familial bonds, but about transformation and the resilience that love could accurately portray. Emma's courage to confront the past had ignited something powerful, fostering connections that were beginning to mend. One bright morning, I received a message from Emma, brimming with excitement. "Can we meet up? I want to share some wonderful news," her text read. My heart raced with anticipation. I could only imagine what she might have to share. When we met at our favorite cafe, her bright smile illuminated the room, and I felt a rush of pride for everything she had achieved. "Tell me," I exclaimed, eager to hear about the news that had her practically bouncing in her seat. "I've been talking to Mom and Dad, and they want to plan a family trip together," she said, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "A real family vacation for the first time, just us three." The news brought an overwhelming wave of emotion. I could hardly process it. "That's incredible, Emma. A trip together could be such a great way to strengthen bonds." I grinned, filled with joy at witnessing the tangible transformation unfolding in her family. "We're thinking of going to the lake house, just a weekend away, but still time to reconnect without distractions," she explained, her voice laced with excitement. "We'll have activities and cook together, just like how I learned growing up." "It sounds perfect," I said, warmth blossoming in my heart. "It's a beautiful opportunity for all of you to create new memories." As we continued to chat, it struck me just how far Emma had come. Her courage to tackle her fears had borne fruit, and the love she and her parents were cultivating promised not only to heal wounds, but enrich their shared experiences. Later that week, Emma invited me over to help her plan for the trip. We sat together, maps and brochures spread across the table like colorful treasures waiting to be discovered. "I need your opinion on what activities we should include," she said, excitement shimmering in her voice. "Let's think about what you all enjoyed doing together in the past," I encouraged, recalling the ways she had shared pieces of her childhood memories. "Maybe some outdoor activities would work, like hiking, kayaking, and cooking around the fire. It will help capture that essence of togetherness." "Yes!" Emma exclaimed, her enthusiasm infectious as she rifled through our ideas. "I want it to feel organic, just the three of us connecting." As we sketched out plans, I sensed a wonderful shift taking place. Her vulnerability was transforming into a testament to the strength of love. Not just with Alex, but also within her family. A blending of the past and the present, forging a new path together. When the trip finally arrived, the atmosphere buzzed with excitement as they prepared to embark on this heartfelt journey. I could see Emma and her parents packing their bags, laughter replacing tension as they recounted stories from their past, encouraging one another like old friends. As I stood watching them, I felt a sense of fulfillment. Their willingness to redefine what family meant and to bridge the gaps that had long divided them filled my heart with warmth. Each step they took toward connection was an act of courage, and I felt honored to have been part of the unfolding journey. The drive to the lake house was filled with laughter, a pleasant mix of playful banter and stories shared. As they arrived, the beauty of the scenery stole their breath away. Breathtaking mountains rising against the backdrop of a glistening lake, whispers of nature enveloping them in a soothing embrace. "Wow, it's even more beautiful than I remember," Emma said, her eyes wide with wonder as they stepped out of the car. David and Sarah exchanged glances, their past differences seemingly evaporating within the beauty of the present moment. It felt as if this trip was a canvas on which they would paint countless memories. And as they settled in, I watched with pride as Emma's laughter mingled with her parents' joy. Over the next few days, they bonded over cooking meals together, exploring the wilderness and sharing cherished stories around a crackling fire. I could almost hear the barriers shattering as their laughter echoed through the trees. Emma led them on hikes, her joy palpable as she shared the sights and sounds of nature that had once formed the backdrop of her childhood. Each adventure was like another thread weaving them closer together. Yet it wasn't just the shared activities that made a difference. The conversations, honest, tearful, and full of newfound understanding, brought forth a sense of self-awareness that had been missing for so long. Emma's courage began to surface in ways she never knew she was capable of expressing. One night, gathered around the warm glow of the fire, they sat in a circle, sharing laughter and stories under a blanket of stars. Emma looked at her parents, her heart full as she said, "I just want to thank you both for being here, to really be present, and for finally embracing this time together." Tears welled in Sarah's eyes as she spoke softly. "We've longed for this moment too, Emma. I see you now, not just as our daughter, but as a remarkable woman." David nodded, his voice filled with emotion. "It's so easy to let misunderstandings shape our relationships, but we've learned we can grow from them instead." You could feel the love insulating them, and I watched as they began to unpack the layers of their complex history. An exchange that empowered not just them, but resonated powerfully in my own heart. As the trip wore on, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude settle over me, joy filtering through every interaction I witnessed. Emma had navigated a tumultuous past, yet here she was, strengthened by her journey, crafting something beautiful from the remnants of family complexities. The day they returned home, Emma's spirit was lighter, a demeanor exuding confidence that enveloped her every word. "This weekend was incredible," she said with a brimming smile. "We made real progress together, and I feel like all of our stories finally found a place." I nodded, knowing how vital this rebirth was for all of them. "It's only the beginning, Emma. Every new experience helps to weave your shared narrative moving forward." As days turned into weeks, Emma and her parents continued their newfound commitment to stay connected. I could see them making an effort to reach out and establish dialogues that held honesty and emotion, an empowered trio ready to embrace whatever future shaped their paths. As I watched them grow, I felt a renewed sense of purpose emerge from within me. I, too, had journeyed alongside them, learning how the beauty of love could heal old wounds and enrich our lives. Reflections swirled in my mind as I contemplated all that had been transformed, all the barriers broken, and the love cultivated. As Emma's story began to flourish, I felt a crescendo building within me, one that encouraged me to fully embrace my own passions and dreams. Life was indeed a tapestry, each thread interwoven with care, compassion, and the profound understanding that love transcended even the most daunting challenges. And so I stood at the precipice of my own life, inspired by Emma's story, ready to forge my own path with renewed vigor and love. Together, we would move forward into the open embrace of the future, hand in hand, stronger, brighter, and filled with the promise of new beginnings.